Hello, everybody. We are here for our Dynamite late review, like always. Of course, because I never have actual interest to do a review after watching a late night program, because I don't think it's worth my time to always do it like I always have free time in my hands since it's a school season. So let's just get this over with. I will also have a video why NXT will always be consistently losing the ratings war as it is. It's not even like a war at this point. It's like a little bit of a televised beef to how many times that NXT hits the 600,000s. But I digress. We got to continue with actual important stuff in hand. We have, of course, at least important stuff to deal with. Build for the Full Gear pay-per-view that's, I guess, consisted as their WrestleMania. They have a tournament to see who will face off against the world champion, either Eddie Kingston or John Moxley. It's probably John Moxley. That comes out of their I Quit match. The winner will defend their AEW World Title on after on the Dynamite after Full Gear. So that's practically it. We had an exciting opening scuffle immediately with Sammy Guevara, completely rejecting most of the gestures that MJF been planting to him, so he can get an easier way over to the inner circle. Come before their. Uh, I think he said that you look like you're selling Alka-Seltzer to children. A little half pint. They had a scuffle of words, and then after what was nearly about to end up to a fight, Wardlow blocked them. Wardlow was about to be stopped by MJF, and then they went off to the ring for the opening contest. Second round matchup. Wardlow goes one-on-one with Hangman Adam Page. This match was as average as it was. We had some counters of the clothesline. Big kicks. He did the buckshot lariat twice. F4 for a near fall. The match was as generic as you can get because, of course, you know that uh, he's going to win. Hangman's going to win to obviously build up to the relationship and most of the accurate storytelling because we can't get like Lance Archer or Darby Allin or we had Colt Cabana, the Lucha Bros, Jungle Boy, and Joey Jelena before Sonny Kiss took his place. You know this was going. The only guys that were going to move probably one needle was probably Wardlow, and even that was going to be a factor because it wasn't MJF. That's been screwed over for title opportunities because he only had one, and of course MJF with his heelish motif because he's not employed by AEW even though he's technically on the roster. But we know this was what this was going at. That whatever is Wardlow's property is his property because of course he's financially uh he he is financially supported by MJF because he's the only person paying him, and obviously his major insurance. So it made sense, and of course kept the heelish motif that even where it feels like Wardlow's on top of the world, it's technically still MJF. So the main event was the tournament final: Kenny Omega against not Ray Phoenix, it's Penta El Zor because Eddie Kingston was to face off against his best friend if he ever wins the I Quit match at November 7th. So, next up we had Matt Sydal. That we don't even know if that's official roster mate. This is technically his debut match on Dynamite. You have him losing. Clean. We had a promo. It was like, get out of my world. Get out of my world. Get this fat corner store father of the Swerve Show looking at you know what, never mind, I love you Swerve Show, just know that oh god, this is so sad. They bring up the backstory yet again over the bunny that is of course Allie that used to tag with Brandy Rhodes coming around that she was sneaking money away from QT Marshall. Like, I care about QT Marshall. Like, release him. Release all these irrelevant jobbers that are not moving the needle. They don't have their own character. They don't captivate audience. Why are they there? At least every jobber or lower card on the Attitude Era had their own gimmick, had their own identity, had their own charisma, and everybody could at least remember their name. God damn it. So we ended off a rear naked choke submission hold for the win over Eddie Kingston. There were some counters, Meteora, close near falls, especially roll ups coming from outside L, but that couldn't get the job done, and they needed to make Eddie Kingston look more cerebral. But before that, we had a promo over Eddie Kingston going over I Quit, and it's like all the young guys, AEW is for athletes while I keep brawling and stuff for young athletes and all the whining and complaining Eddie Kingston does. You're gonna look up in the lights. It was a generic promo, as it should be. I understand this is personal because he literally assaulted him after his title defense against Lance Archer, so that's why they're having this I Quit match. Eddie Kingston kept forcing around the submission until Matt Sydal came and said I quit after the matchup, after he lost the submission. He kept letting go until he said, I quit on the microphone, and calling him Moxley, symbolizing what he's going to do. It looked intimidating enough, but imagine how that was for Matt Sydal. How much you gotta suck to be already be taken like a bitch out. You've been performing on Dark. Literally your major accident, your debut on pay-per-view since how many years? Since you've been in the WWE. You come around and just saying I quit forcibly by this guy that probably owns a few delis around New York. And and probably a nearby bodega somewhere. It's a bit sad, but a good champ for Matt Sydal taking this so we can get another guy over. I respect that. Next up, we had the on-screen interview involving Excalibur sitting down in a V-chat because, of course, social distancing AEW is like that, but we'll still allow live attendance. Excalibur, that of course is the worst commentator I've probably ever seen, that only shouts out one relevant move in a match. But the only person that's at least tolerable in the commentary table, I have to say, it's Tony Schiavone. And here is Excalibur interviewing both the Young Bucks and FTR. The only important thing about this interview was excavating that they would do the same stipulation from Full Gear, what Cody did in Full Gear last year when he was challenging Chris Jericho for the AEW World Title. That if they lose, they will never challenge for the AEW World Titles again. So that's a high cost and the only importance you have for watching this match. Over the months of build since FTR debuted, their names, their acronyms actually being a goddamn meme, the constant bickering, the Hangman screw and the breakup of the Elite. It's all built up to this anticlimactic moment over the Young Bucks' attitude, and it took them a primordial four-way match to even earn them this spot in their second title shot since February. Awesome. I'm excited to see this work rate match. That's probably going to be 30 minutes of nothing. I'm not saying that the Young Bucks aren't talented in some of the stuff they do, even though I feel like it's the same old song and dance. Some kicks, some small semblance of storytelling. They'll do one reference that happened in a major part of the show. They'll do a Canadian destroyer from probably the top rope or top turnbuckle. Some super kicks, counters off knees. FTR would do their same cut and dry, fake Brain Buster stuff, and then we have a match that probably consists over nearly 31 minutes. So I'm really expecting the lowest, even though tag team wrestling is supposed to be the new haven on AEW every night. No, dude, no one cares. That's just my opinion on the matter. Hopefully, some other fans of AEW are actually ecstatic to see finally the Young Bucks over what was a social media gag to be literally a big must-see part of pay-per-view. Even though most of their pay-per-views don't have that many buys, even though they even had Mike Tyson appear at Double or Nothing, that meant nothing. So, next up, we of course had our Inner Circle Town Hall meeting. That was also a debate over persuading if MJF could join the Inner Circle, and most of their questions had, oh my god, they had Peter Avalon here. It's like, stop having these dark jobbers that barely have character come around, just feeling like they're a major importance to the show. Peter Avalon only just asked if he can join the inner circle, with everybody else just laughing because how bad he looks like a silent pedo that, of course, is next to a library because, of course, he can't read with his scuffed nose. Built like somebody Stevie Richards jobbed out back in the 90s. And we had some nice counterpart, some nice questions over the standpoint of things. This was just dragging out. Eric Bischoff is there. We had Tony Giovanni telling Chris Jericho to shut up, even though he's technically Britt Baker's bitch. But I digress. I don't want to drag down that hole because I know some people in the comments will give me it. We had an unnecessary question of Luchasaurus, so of course, standpoint that he's intelligent, but he's also a 1,000-year dinosaur. Like, this is some lower card stuff for a guy that has decent size, seems to have a decent charisma. He doesn't seem to be that terrible in the ring, and he's actually a hyped up hot tag. So why in the hell are you letting him do something so indie-rific, like dressing up as a dinosaur and doing kick stuff? Make him like your rip-off Roman Reigns. Hell, make him your rip-off Kane and make him keep like a lizard-type name or something. Make intimidating forces because Lance Archer is going to keep losing to these former WWE or just AEW jobbers or baby faces. You're not doing anything for Brian Cage except except trying to bother with Will Hobbs for some apparent reason. Because he already lost to Moxley twice. And and Jake Hager, oh god, what's some more important? Like, he had an empty arena match with Moxley, and then that's about it. He beat Dustin Rhodes, nothing else. Like, we are not doing anything for big guys, and yet you have him asking these stupid questions. With already the same question being asked twice over what do you like? Are you going to turn your back on the inner circle? And Jericho even brung it completely clear that they'll beat the piss out of him. And of course, it ends with what one can do for me and what can I do for you. It ends with a proposition by Jericho if you beat him at Full Gear that he'll join the inner circle, no question about it. We didn't even have a vote on the matter. So this is a heel versus heel matchup for a proposition to join the inner circle faction. MJF saying that he'll do anything he can to win. I'm technically more excited because I know most of these guys are decent sellers. They'll slow up the pace. You don't have to do that work rate garbage that much, and I know it's going to be determined to tell a story. So I'm at least excited for that match than the Young Bucks and FTR match, and that's a lot I can say about AEW in that standpoint. Next up, we of course had our lumberjack match for the TNT Championship. Cody Rhodes face off against Orange Cassidy for the TNT title. A rematch from last week after ending in a time stoppage. And Technical Work Rate Productions was really potent. These guys are amazing in pure honesty. And it's like, you're not going to draw crowds having 20-minute matches with Warhorse. You're not wrong. Especially off what's like considered a WWE jobber gimmick that probably Santino Marella back in the 2010s would have won against Orange Cassidy. And I feel like he would be more over there than he ever be in AEW, even though he's literally the top draw for most of the casual AEW fans. And yeah, we had the Dark Order, and then we had our symbols of the baby faces coming by. We had a near freshly squeezed with the time stoppage last week. So what was this? Interference of John Silver interfering after a figure four submission. We had a counter off a tornado DDT off one of the Dark Order. We had a superplex on the outside where everybody fell down. Cody cut it for a near fall. But guess what? A punt kick by John Silver before Cody can even do anything else. And Arn Anderson delivering a cheap shot over to literally getting a cheap shot on one of the guys across roads out of nowhere. So I think Cody didn't even witness what happened over this cheap At least the only thing is this got a finish over to tell an ongoing story. But I swear to God, I don't want to see. I don't want to see Orange Cassidy that much. I really don't. I think like they're really souring on the moment that makes Orange Cassidy actually fun to watch. He makes badass segments just feel like a complete joke. Like back then, like back a couple weeks ago, I was actually praising the street match. I mean the backyard, the parking lot brawl involving the best friends and Santana and Ortiz like a few months back because they're actually entertaining. It was harsh. It was a brawl. They weren't doing any flippy stuff. There was a lot of counters. These guys were beating the piss out of each other, and you actually thought Santana and Ortiz were actually going to be taken seriously. Until Orange Cassidy came in and just ruined it all to actually make somebody actually look like a badass because all the best friends do is just say nerd crap, hug, hold hands, and still feel like we're straight while doing it. It's not cool. It's not cool. Next up, we had, of course, a nice high school substitute teacher, Serena Deeb, that's somehow the NWA Women's Champion. Thunder Rosa was like, oh, wait, WWE's impressed? Okay, think of Poke Doom. 1, 2, 3. Faces off against Shayna Baszler 4.0, Layla Harsh in a in an NWA women's title match. The second women's NWA women's title match. Somehow they forgot to take the picture of Thunder Rosa out. The match was as forgettable as it got. Like there were some counters, a swinging neck breaker. Harsh kept trying to think she can recover, trying to go for arm takedown moves. She tapped out off a modified Tranquilo Sunrise, and then that was it. The match was as basic for a mid-card feud, and we don't know much about Serena Deeb other than she looks like a MILF or just a regular teacher. She doesn't have that much of a particularized character, and stop signing generic women's wrestlers all because you're good. Like Thunder Rosa, she has a defining look. She's not that bad to look at, and she has a cool move set. That's what makes Thunder Rosa work, and why AEW is actually getting some positives in the women's department for a change, even though she wasn't even official as part of the roster, because she looked cool, she was attractive, and she was having cool matches with Hikaru Shida and tag team matches all over the place. And you had a better chance there than having Penelope Ford lose every week, or Nyla Rose still considered a woman. Sorry. We also had Hikaru Shida in a backstage interview over freaking crickets, with her struggling to even make herself feel more integral speaking English, to challenge Nyla Rose for no particular reason, telling her to find her come full gear. So it'll be Nyla Rose for like the second or third time against Hikaru Shida in a title match, with her not even earning it. VSK faced off against Shawn Spears one-on-one with obviously the ref consistently. I didn't even know he was 14-2. Since his last two losses against Dustin Rhodes, and then he lost against Cody like twice, and he's still considered a integral part of the singles division. Like after him literally like teasing a tag team partnership with MJF and trying to find a partner, and he's just consisted of a jobber. Now you're feeding with who's Scorpio Sky. Like who's going to care? What's even the integral point of him feuding? Oh, because he said good luck. One time when you guys were facing off against the FTR, that was technically it. It ends with a mandible claw, and then a TKO with the black glove. The chairman, will get it because he hit Cody with a chair, wins in a squash match. Because of course, if we make him face anybody else, Jungle Boy would beat him in 13 minutes. So, this Ty Dillinger, you're only here because Peyton Royce is better than you. And it's and then Scorpio Sky comes out dressed up in a costume, jumping him. And this is billed for whatever sort of weak program they have that I'm supposed to be slightly invested in the standpoint of seeing Shawn Spears actually given a feud for once. Other than his consistent motifs to target Cody, and we never even had a consistent reason for that. He wasn't part of the Nightmare family. He wasn't integral roles in title matches or challenged for the TNT title. How many times they wrestled already, even in the tournament for the TNT Championship. So that was a he's a jobber. I don't care if he's feuding with another forever mid Carter, probably a former X Division champion out of freaking Scorpio Sky. We also had what else over the show before we even go to the main event? We had, of course, Miro and Kip Sabian. Oh my God, why are they given TV time? And I feel bad because, of course, I was one of the guys that were in the Rusev bandwagon to like get him a bigger spot, make him like this big, scary Euro heel with a lot of charisma. He has major upside and he can conduct heat. So ruin him by making Lana an idiot, make him job to Roman Reigns, John Cena all the time, and no integral parts actually make him feel legit anymore, even though he had U.S. title reigns, and then nothing else. It's not good. It's not a good look. And now you have him getting upset over his game being destroyed, make him dress like a casual AEW fan, and then you have him feuding with the best friends all because of a broken arcade game from a tag team match. Are you serious? That just makes me really dumb. And it's a simple song and dance, but at least we got a tournament out of all of this to get a title shot for after the major pay-per-view. And over to tell, of course, the obvious story. Okay, Zero M faced off against Kenny Omega the main event. I'm not going to rant for that long. So Kenny Omega faced off against Penta El Zero M. Somehow Pentagon Jr. somehow taken, or he just wanted the name change. So yeah, we didn't have the Dave Meltzer 6-star matches. Top pro wrestling observer wrestlers of the last 3 years, and oh god, I told them to write it down. Dave Meltzer's on the AEW payroll. Confirmed. And of course, oh goodness, we ended up with this main event that was as a mid card as you can make it. None of these guys feel like unrecredited stars, and as many times you want to feel like Kenny Omega is just he just had to be in the tag division. You just have to keep him on the tag division because that's the type of stuff that's not going to captivate fans. The only thing interesting was when he was mocking Ray Phoenix with the AAA Mega Championship. Like, I'm not going to trade a belt as prestigious when Jeff Jarrett won it. And of course, it ends with him mocking him with it, with still wearing the undershirt until we were like 5 minutes into the match. Counters off bicycle knees. We had a cross body off a bicycle knee. Big V trigger from the corner. Targeting the arm, doing the constant body takedown arm breaker thing that obviously never affected at all because he barely even did anything until he actually got an armbar cross arm breaker onto it. And then consistent knee strikes until we had a V trigger over to the corner again. And then the last couple minutes, now he hits a V trigger when he was going for a springboard maneuver, and then the one winged angel for the near fall after the other one came for a near fall. Package pile driver, couldn't get the win. And it comes with Kenny Omega reaching the finals to face off against Hangman Adam Page. It's as predictable as you got because you knew you were going to see a lot of knees, some arm grabbing. There was barely part of the match that felt that much in peril because, of course, you know the finish that they were going to get. Because, of course, they didn't want any more conflict to come with the Lucha Bros. Even though it looks like Eddie Kingston been consistently playing favoritism for majority of his little family with just the Butcher and Blade, even though it's just primarily the Blade and the Lucha Bros, even though it's just Penta. So it makes zero damn sense. By God, and it's them because probably some smarks were actually excited to see. Oh my God, Phoenix and Kenny Omega on Dynamite. dude, this is gonna be lit. And then it's just Pentagon and Kenny Omega and Dynamite with just really little storytelling going into the factor. Then Kenny Omega just like shoving a luchador, a lucha libre title belt to Rey Fenix's face, like that's gonna really pay any relevance into the story. So yeah, that was Dynamite. Of course, NXT had their Halloween Havoc special that I don't even know what was the main event there. All I saw was Shotzi Blackheart endorsing it, and it's like how to spit in the face from like one of the major pay-per-views of WCW into like NXT specials. Like we keep pimp slapping the name of actual competition WWE actually had, and they don't even think of like giving the rights to another billionaire or probably giving it back to Eric Bischoff or actually giving it to an upstart company. I would at least do that. I mean, I don't want to just keep pimp slapping the name of my old competition, but Vince, of course, like that because he has a major ego, and I think I would do the same, even if I was not that close to actually losing competition come '99. But yeah, Dynamite was as disappointing as it got. We had one decent tournament match. The lumberjack match was a complete mess. No one cared about Serena Deeb in her title defense. No one cared. Hikaru Shida is uncaptivating. The only hype factor is the Jericho versus MJF match, and I am not even that consulted into the Inner Circle town hall meeting because we thought it was just going to be questions by the Inner Circle to actually perceive drama, other than we have jobbers and Eric Bischoff asking questions. It is that bad. It was that bad. I don't want. I don't want to just I don't want to like rag on Dynamite because of course I want it to get better, and if it's having millions of dollars sent out to it and it actually has the ability, they have a billionaire that's willing to actually make it successful, then you don't think Eddie Kingston should be highlighting a pay-per-view. I'm sorry, man. It's just not a smart idea. And as much rag we give to WWE, at least we can know that they have as many smarks give it, at least they're consistent stars, and at least fans sort of know them. They know Bray Wyatt, they know Seth Rollins, they know Roman Reigns, they know the Usos, they know the New Day. Like these are at least names that at least some of like very little casual fans are going to know. No one's gonna know who Eddie Kingston is. No one's gonna know that much of Kenny Omega. No one's gonna know the Lucha Bros that much. Some people are gonna know FTR because they're WWE guys. Cody because he's a WWE guy. And the most legitimate promo makers you do. I'm not saying that Eddie Kingston is not terrible at getting guys over, but it's just it's not gonna, especially in your main event. Like you should have him challenging for the TNT title, and it makes more sense. You have him backhanding Moxley after already beating him by submission. That's already an embarrassing feat off yourself. And then you have him headlining the pay-per-view because he didn't tap. So that's the reason. It's not that indwelling as it is. NWA Power has better build, and they're in the cups of nearly getting out of business, all because of this COVID incident. Other than that, I would still be watching it. I'll admit it, and I liked it. And I liked Power until later, or like earlier 2020, because they thought of just smartly just having Ken Anderson have a beer belly, keep having Midnight Express on TV, and with his work rate garbage partnering Ring of Honor. Like that's not going to captivate any viewers. But I'll have a reason why NXT is always going to have the lower end of the stick when it comes to Dynamite, probably later in the weekend. But other than that, I hope you guys liked the review. Didn't want this to be, but this is another one nearly 30 minutes long because of constant ranting. That's totally from a fault of mine, but you guys need to hear it because I didn't want to waste just time saying, oh, the show was good, but some of the matches were boring. And I'm so hyped up for this FTR versus Young Buck match. But we know that this is going to probably only get like probably only 200 or 100,000 viewers. So yeah, enjoy the pay-per-view. I'll tell you, by God, come on, man! Like, be honest with yourself. What kind of captivating match did they have for their pay-per-views? Because because AEW has very little pay-per-views over the calendar year, and that's nothing wrong. That means months of storytelling, months of build. pace-to-pace pay-per-view to actually have their Dynamite episodes mean something because that's going to go to the next big thing. I get that. But tell me, what's a blockbuster motif? You have like Mike Tyson there, and he was getting in a beef with Chris Jericho. Those are two well-known names. They're not brawling or doing anything important. And you have Mike Tyson acting like a little boy, hoisting up a reward that was the little tin can of the TNT title before they actually added gold into it. Nothing off Full Gear is going to be getting captivating press from casual audiences. Unless Tony Khan understands what he's doing, the Dynamite's just going to continue suffering like mediocre impact ratings. Thanks for watching. If you guys watched the review or stayed for that long, like, comment, subscribe if you want to help out the channel. Shout out to some YouTube. Shout out to most of the YouTubers I've just referenced in most of the video already. But yeah, that's it coming from me.